California's liberal politicians are coming for our kids, encouraging them to explore gender bending ideologies without parents knowing about it. Coming up, we're going to tell you about the fight to stop the liberal politicians and protect our kids. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and you see it happening across the state of California at school boards, as well as in Sacramento in the state legislature that's dominated by liberal Democrats with their super mega majority. They have absolute contempt for the rights of parents, and they're out there trying to recruit our kids, trying to confuse our kids, and adding a whole lot of stress to kids at a time when they just need love and support, and they need to pump the brakes and slow down. I'm talking about California Democrats' fetish, and that's the best way to describe it, a fetish for trying to encourage kids to change their gender. And we're going to talk about the fight to stop this crazy policy and these new laws that they've just enacted to encourage gender bending surgeries and therapies without parental consent. But let me just say, as a gay Republican, I absolutely am all about mutual respect for everyone. Live and let live. I want you to go out and find yourself and live a happy life. And I think every Christian, God-fearing, good, wholesome American wishes the best for their neighbor. That's not what this is about, though. This is about hurting kids. This is about violating constitutionally protected rights of parents under the 14th Amendment. When a child is confused about their gender, and it happens, numerous studies have looked into this topic over the years, that child is stressed out, depressed, anxious, questioning, and at that point in time, all the more reason why they need the love and support of their parents. And no rash decisions should be made. In fact, all the studies, even on the left, demonstrate that 80% of teens, youth, who question their gender go on to resolve those questions in favor of their biological gender. And we have numerous horror stories of children who were encouraged by left-wing activists and bad forces to modify their gender, to take puberty blockers, which cause a whole lot of permanent damage and impacts, going on and becoming adults and regretting it, deeply regretting it. So if you care about LGBT children, the only thing you should be doing is saying, we love you and we don't need to make any quick decisions. Let's pump the brakes. Let's not stress out. Let's take it one step at a time. And by the way, all of us should be encouraging mutual respect, treating people with dignity and respect across the board, and love and support. But that's not what the Democrats are pushing. They're pushing hate. They're pushing fear. They're trying to suggest that the greatest threat to our children are our parents. It's insane. And it needs to be stopped. Unfortunately, in California, the laws that have been passed strip parents of their rights and put these children in grave danger. But fortunately, a citizens' rebellion has launched, and they're pushing a citizens' constitutional initiative, a citizens' initiative that they want to put on the ballot to protect children and to affirm the role of parents in their children's lives. Joining me is one of the lead proponents of that effort, Erin Friday. She's with Our Duty, as well as ProtectKidsCA.com. Erin, thank you so much for joining us. What brought you into this fight? What is motivating you to step forward and try to undo these crazy laws that California Democrat politicians have passed in the past several years?
Well, Carl, I have to admit, I'm a Democrat. So I don't know if you know that, but my daughter was captured by the gender ideology because her school taught her that she could change sex, which is an impossibility. And my daughter believed that she was a boy for a year and a half, and it was sheer hell because no one would help us understand what the internalized, hatred of herself was caused by because it was considered conversion therapy. So that's how I got involved. And then I started going to Sacramento and watching all these bills that are being passed that abrogate parental rights. I'm a licensed attorney, so I do know a little bit about the law and the fact that the supermajority is just tossing our Constitution into the garbage and looking at parents as the enemy number one for their children. And if you're a parent, you know that no one loves their child more than a parent. No one. I've never heard a non-parent say that they would lay down their lives for their children, but I've heard it certainly from parents. And so that's what activated me. Was I turned all of my anger into action once my daughter returned to being comfortable in her female sex.
So how many years ago was this that your daughter was being encouraged by these outside activists and individuals to make these dramatic shifts and to pursue gender bending options?
So 2 years she returned to comfort in her natural sex.
And that is, of course, what all the data, and remember, Democrats say, follow the evidence, follow the science, follow the data. The data shows that 80% of youth who question their gender identity go on to resolve it, as your daughter did, in favor of their biological sex. So we don't want to rush. We don't want to make permanent decisions. We want to give these kids love and support and just say, hey, it's going to be okay. Pump the brakes. We're not in any rush. We'll figure this out. You'll figure this out, and you're going to be happy. That's not what the Democrats are doing. They want that immediate action, and they want to cut parents out because all of their bills say that if the parents don't immediately sign off on these permanent surgeries and these chemical interventions, that the parent should lose their rights, that the youth, the underage kid should be able to go and make the decisions on their own. It's really scary. Now, you are a lawyer, so you're probably familiar with the mountain of case law that's out there from the U.S. Supreme Court over the past 50 years that has repeatedly affirmed that parents have plenary authority and rights over the lives of their children, to govern the lives of their children. And by extension of that, you would presume that they have a right to know. So if you have a right to govern the affairs of your child and no one else does, just you, the parent, under the U.S. Constitution, that would extend to the right to know what's going on with your child. But these laws not only take away the right to govern the affairs of the child, but even the right to know what's going on with a child.
So, well, let me jump in on a couple things, Carl, please. But there is no law, zero laws in the state of California that requires a school to lie to parents. That is made up. It is on the Department of Education as a policy, but a policy is not law. But they are teaching the teachers and the superintendents that this is the law. That's a lie. There is no privacy right between a parent and child on gender identity, by the way. Zero.
Right. But when I say a law, this is an enforceable policy that a lot of teachers have come to us and said, hey, I've been told if I don't follow this policy, I lose my job. I can be written up. I can be punished. And so, in essence, these left-wing school boards are adopting these policies. The Department of Education of the state of California under Gavin Newsom are pushing the policies. And you and I both know that these policies will not pass muster at the U.S. Supreme Court. And God willing, we get to the U.S. Supreme Court fast, because kids are in danger while these policies are in place at the local level.
Right. And honestly, the schools should be more afraid of what the parents are going to do, because we're starting to sue the schools for what they're doing to our kids. And there's many more parents than there are attorney generals who are going to sue the school districts. And teachers are also going to be personally responsible for transitioning kids. We've already seen that in a case out of Spreckles, where 2 teachers were not only terminated, but for secretly transitioning a child. So every teacher who is just going along to get along, they're on the firing block too. Yeah. Because look, I get calls from parents all the time, and we are lining up the attorneys to sue these school districts for parental rights here, and we'll win.
And by the way, I want to add that if you're a concerned teacher, you should also consider consulting an attorney, because two teachers in the Escondido Union School District won a case just in the last 60 days that said that as teachers, they should not be compelled to follow this policy. And the federal judge agreed with them and struck the policy down and is now protecting them. So teachers and parents should afford themselves legal counsel if they disagree with the policies.
That's correct. And that federal case is still ongoing. That was at the injunction stage. But yeah, I mean, people need to start talking about this, and people need to put away their fear and follow their moral code. Carl, so many of these kids are actually just gay kids. I mean, the Democrats are transitioning gay children. This is a homophobic movement. This is also a movement of taking autistic kids. Many of these kids are autistic. And so we're transitioning mentally unwell kids. And we did this in the state of California years ago. I think 2 years ago, we paid out $7.5 million for sterilizing mentally unwell adults. And we're doing it again. And now we're doing it to children.
Yeah. Within the gay community, a lot of gays and lesbians are furious because they feel that this radical trans agenda has been advanced in their name, and they do not agree with it. And that's the dirty little secret that liberal media outlets refuse to cover. There's actually a civil war going on in the gay community. Gays and lesbians do not support these policies. They're ashamed of these policies. They're embarrassed that their community is being used as though the gays are asking for this because of civil rights. And it's now starting to bubble up to the top. Frankly, as I'm running for state assembly, and I'll be the first openly gay Republican elected, though that's not what I'm looking for. I want to be known for being a fighter for Californians. I plan to challenge the false narrative that somehow all gays support this, because they don't. They don't. This is a very fringe ideology, a very fringe policy that is being advanced by people, as you say, for perhaps a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with what they're purporting to try to achieve. Let's talk about taking this to the ballot box, because court cases do take time. They're also very costly. And in the meantime, people do get hurt. It's better to not have to go sue for damages for hurt that's been caused. It's better just to prevent the hurt. So that's where your Protect Our Kids initiative comes in. And I want to encourage everyone to go to the website. We're going to be referencing this as we discuss this initiative. Go to protectkidsca.com. Protectkidsca.com. Here's the site. First, I want to encourage you to donate, because this campaign requires funding to get this initiative on the ballot. So there's a donation link there. You also can read the petition, the actual legislation that they're collecting signatures on. It's very simple. We're going to talk about the contents of the petition in just a moment. And I want you to get involved, because this is largely a volunteer-driven effort to collect signatures, to qualify the initiative, to then place this measure on the ballot and let voters decide. So you can click right here on this red box to download the copy of the petition. And again, when you collect signatures, make sure you look at those instruction forms, because it is a little complicated. You have to make sure that you sign as a circulator the petition, and then collect signatures from your friends and family and neighbors. And then make sure you look at the return dates. Get the petition in on time. The sooner you get the signatures, the better. And there's also an address where you can mail your petition once you get your signatures. So, Aaron, let's talk about this initiative. What are the things that will be required if this initiative passes?
So the first aspect of the petition is that we will stop all gender interventions on minors. So that means no cross-sex hormones, no puberty blockers, and no surgeries under the age of 18.
So in other words, if you're not an adult, if you're not if you can't consent to what's happening to your own body, that a doctor cannot just simply do this, a state agency can't do this, and even a parent shouldn't be encouraging this, that we should let our kids become adults to make adult decisions.
Correct. All kids have the right to grow up in their natural bodies, go through natural puberty, and be able to have the choice to procreate when they are adults.
So that's the first requirement. The second one?
The second one deals with sports. So sports and bathrooms. We will be repealing the law that permits students to choose their bathrooms, shower rooms, changing rooms, sports, sleepover accommodations based on gender as opposed to their sexed bodies. And it will also prevent male athletes at the college level from competing as women on in college teams. I mean, this is
And,
just
nothing in this initiative prevents a unisex bathroom off to the side. This is the regular locker rooms, the regular shower rooms should not be open to someone just choosing whatever they want to be that day. Schools can still offer accommodations of unisex bathrooms, but we're talking about the ability for someone just to say, hey, this is who I am today, and I'm going to go into this locker room or restroom or shower room.
That's correct. It's designed to protect women because really women need to be protected from male bodies. We know that they're much stronger. There's a video that's circulating with a young man who is over 6 feet tall, knocking into three girls playing basketball. I mean, he hit them so hard that all of them were taken out of the game. This is just common sense, and how we got here, I just don't know. But we need to
and on the
return.
sports side, I talked to Caitlyn Jenner about this, and Bruce Jenner, obviously, Olympian, all about sports and the integrity of the game. And Caitlyn Jenner said, what you're doing is you're taking away dreams from these kids. These kids dream about being able to learn a sport, to excel at a sport, to have pride in their accomplishments. And by basically corrupting the playing field, eliminating the fairness of the fight, you're taking the dream away from all these kids. If they want to have a transgender team, then go and do your own transgender team and do competitions that way. But when we're talking about girls sports and boys sports, the integrity and the fairness of the competition is what it's all about. I mean, otherwise you don't have merit, you don't have accomplishment, and you ruin it for everyone.
And safety. Safety is so important. I mean, we have a volleyball player who has, in Half Moon Bay, had hit the ball so hard that he caused a concussion of a female, and she's out for the season. Like, there's a difference in strength, and we need to celebrate that men and women have different bodies and different attributes. This isn't a bigoted or a mean initiative. This is just reality and fairness.
It's a fairness issue. And then what does it do as it relates to the parents' right to know, and what goes on in these schools in terms of encouraging kids to do things based on these social agendas or these political agendas that are being advanced?
So before I jump into that, let me just state too that what this initiative does is it defines the word female and male in biological scientific terms, which, gosh darn it, I thought my party was the party of science, but we've suddenly forgot what a female and male is. But I can't believe you have to define that, but it does that also. And then the third aspect of it is really related to parental rights, which is that at the schools, that no school can change a child's name, pronoun, socially transition a child behind a parent's back, and without their authorization. And it is so important for us to be involved at the school level. Again, in my personal situation, when we found out that my child was gender questioning, we found out really early because the school had changed her name and pronoun, and it was COVID, so we could hear the teachers calling a different name. And it's so important for parents to be involved right at the get-go, because if these kids are more apt to commit suicide and you don't involve the parents, you just took out the safety net for these kids. This is not outing. This is protecting kids. Teachers are not around, after 2:30. They don't give their cell phone out. They're not there at 4 a.m. checking on these kids. Schools are not equipped with mental health training whatsoever, and they don't have the right to scaffold a child's gender identity and concretize it. So, yeah, it's a big undertaking, this ballot initiative, but it's the only way we're going to return California back to biological reality. You talked about having a supermajority. We have a supermajority of Democrats. A lot of them know what they're doing is wrong because I speak with them.
Oh
And
yeah,
then, yeah,
they know that this is harmful. They know it's wrong, but they're terrified of the militant left protesters, sort of like the same thing that's happening on Hamas, the pro-Hamas protesters. They know it's wrong, but they still do it because they are worried more about their political careers than what's right for the kids. And that's a damn shame because we elect our public officials to look out for the public, and those that are most vulnerable should be given the top priority of concern. And on top of that, they also, I do believe, I believe they're using this to try to foment hate. They're trying to paint anyone who disagrees with this agenda as a homophobe, which is a bald-faced lie. This is about loving our children, supporting our children, including our gay children, from this rapid go, 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 make the decision now, life-altering consequences. That is a danger to the very LGBTQ children that need the love and support of their parents.
I have to interrupt you. There are no T children. There are no trans children. No one is born in the wrong body. It's not possible. These are kids that have self-loathing and mental health issues. There is no T kids. That is just a fallacy. There's LGB, but there are no trans kids. These kids are perfect just the way they are in their perfect bodies. Girls can play with boy toys. Boys can wear, pink and tutus. That doesn't change their sex. They are perfect just the way they are. This is a movement of absolute hate.
I'm not sure that's where the debate needs to be, because if an adult wants to go and live as a raccoon, that's not my fault. That's not my concern. Go and have a fun time as a raccoon or whatever. That's the beauty of America. People get to make decisions. But as it relates to children, we need to pump the brakes and get them to adulthood and say, we love you unconditionally. We support you unconditionally. You don't need to make the decisions now. Let's just take this one step at a time. Now, I've seen the polling. The polling shows that 70% of Californians agree with this initiative. 70%. The media does not want to focus on the broad-based bipartisan consensus amongst voters, because when you say to voters, should parents have a right to know about what's going on with their children? It's a 70% issue. Should a child be able to, without consent of parent, underage, make an appointment with a doctor and get this sort of surgery? They say no, 70%. And so, how do we get the public support translated into this signature drive? I mean, that's really, you need to get the signatures, and that's very difficult. As someone who does a lot of ballot measures, it is really hard, even with a popular measure, to get signatures. So tell us, how are we doing on the signature collection?
Well, it is difficult, and it is a bipartisan issue for sure. Look, I'm a Democrat. Wolf Women's Liberation Front, which is a very liberal group, is one of our partners here. So this crosses all party lines. It's difficult to get signatures. You know this. Without funding, you have to hire professional signature gatherers, because your volunteer groups make mistakes. Because they're even if they're trained, they still make mistakes. We have armies of people out there collecting signatures.
And we're collecting these signatures at our barbecue, beer, and ballot events in the primary. We're going to have several thousand people attend in just the next 5 or 6 days at these events.
That's fabulous. I mean, my biggest donors right now are Democrats, which is just ironic, isn't it? But where are the conservatives here? Where are they? I mean, the GOP should be all over this.
Oh, the GOP couldn't find its rear end with a map and a search party. They're so incompetent and inept. It is the only thing they know how to do is to cut checks for high-priced consultants who fail and lose campaigns. It's don't get me started on that.
Well, I'm glad you said it, not me.
No, but Aaron, if this is going to happen, it's going to take people getting off the couch and getting in the fight. Nobody's going to gallop in and save us from the Democrat supermajority that's doing this bad stuff. We have to save ourselves. And what's on the line? our kids are on the line. That's what's on the line. I mean, if we're not motivated by that, I mean, when we did the gas tax repeal, for people to save $1 on gas per gallon, they got really excited. We're talking about kids who will be taken away from parents, kids who will have long-lasting ill effects, and they'll regret it for the rest of their lives. And that's what's on the line here. So I want to say thank you for your leadership, Erin. You are remarkable. You're a hero to these kids and to the parents who are desperate, who want to protect their rights and who want to protect their children. So I encourage everyone, go to that website, please, because without you, it's not going to happen. ProtectKidsCA.com. ProtectKidsCA.com. That is the website. Erin, thank you so much for joining us on Reform California's podcast.
Thank you, Carl.
Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.